So Matt's in Spain, Des is on a beach somewhere.
And we're in here.
What's going on?
We're having a lovely time
Yes.
now.
Right, let's talk about the arts now, because between 2010 and 2015, the Midlands saw the biggest fall in local authority funding to the arts and culture in the country. With councils cutting cash, many museums, theatres and galleries had relied on for decades. Well, a new report suggested the arts in Birmingham, working more closely with businesses and local universities, could hold the answer.
But there are concerns the arts here aren't getting their fair share of national funding. After a review in 2013 found 15 times more public money was invested into arts and culture in London than in the West Midlands. Here's Chris Halpin with the final part of our series, Culture Shock, the future of our arts.
Architecturally groundbreaking, artistically challenging. Since 1999, the new art gallery Walsall has been a beacon for arts in the Black Country, but 17 years on, the future's not looking quite so bright.
We used to do 5 major exhibitions a year, and now that's 3. Our visitor numbers are beginning to fall off a little bit, not by much, but we're determined that with less resources we'll keep the quality up.
The gallery's local authority funding has fallen by 20% in the last 5 years. As well as fewer exhibitions, they've also lost 30% of their staff, and finding funding remains a delicate business.
We have to try and go out and raise more money, which in the current circumstances in the Black Country is very, very difficult. Although we think that the Arts Council funding will be maintained, we are understandably worried that local authority funding will be reduced in years to come.
In total, the gallery makes 10% of its own income. 40% is funded by Walsall Council, with the rest coming from the national arts funding body.
The Arts Council is dedicated to achieving great art and culture for everyone. As part of that vision, we distribute funds from government and the National Lottery to people and organisations all across England.
The majority of our region's biggest cultural institutions rely on this pipeline of funding. The Arts Council maintains it's shared out everywhere, but a recent inquiry looking at its spending and direct funding from the government was critical not enough of this money was flowing our way.
In 2013, a report into just where that public money goes found that spending on the arts in London is 15 times more than anywhere else in the country. That equates to around £69 per person in London and just £4.58 here in the West Midlands.
I think there has been an impact in terms of funding being concentrated on the capital. There's an obvious reason for that because it's a tourist mecca and it does draw people into the UK. But for people who live in the Midlands, they want a museum service that's well funded on their doorstep.
The inquiry also found London gets a much larger share of National Lottery arts money, and many are still frustrated that cash isn't necessarily spent where it's raised.
That was even more alarming in terms of the way that lottery funding is actually raised from the poorest communities across England and yet is spent on people who are the wealthiest. It's not only a regressive tax on the poor, but it's also redistributing funding from the rest of England into London.
But those in charge for distributing Arts Council cash in the Midlands say they're working hard to spread funding fairly. And by 2018, there'll be 15% more funding for our region.
Well, we can evidence already that more investment is coming into the West Midlands. There are some significant projects through our Ambition for Excellence that have come in, Birmingham Rep in particular. We make those decisions locally here because we understand the area, we can assess those needs and where it is best invested, and that's really important.
However, there are still some smaller arts organisations left having to do it themselves. The Arches project in Digbeth gives young creatives the chance to show and sell their work and gain experience for their CV, boosting not only their skills but also their confidence.
To be able to have it seen as opposed to just having it in my bedroom, it's a fantastic experience.
To get my work out there and to become known as an artist, this type of place is essential.
It's very inspiring when people like my work, and yeah, even better if someone buys it.
Without this space, there'd be nobody to interact with. You'd be sat in your bedroom making quite boring videos.
But to keep going, and not through want of trying, the small charity relies on donations alone.
We've applied several times to Birmingham City Council. We've also applied to the Arts Council, and every time we've had a rejection. It is frustrating because you see, oh, there's a lot of funding floating around. Where is it?
It's that question being asked all over our region by arts organisations whose search to find more funding is becoming an art form in itself. Chris Halpin, ITV News.
Really interesting report there from Chris. And if you've missed any of his series, you can catch up online. Our address on the screen, there it is, itv.com/central.
Now, an audio